Right.
Right.
Hang on.
Shall I start again?
Start again. Can you hear now?
Right.
Tell us at home if you can hear.
Aye.
Yay!
Right.
From the top.
From the top.
That was such a good introduction.
Well, yes, we've all just come from watching Belfast Let Women Speak. It's a wonderful watch party organised by Venice Allen. Wonderful to see women speaking out with their hands shaking and tears in their eyes for the very, very, very first time in their whole lives. Young lesbians, loads of gender critical women, women with political backgrounds who've been thrown out by their political parties, and something that we hope will be repeated regularly. And here we are at Speaker's Corner for once. The trans activists are not here shouting us down. The police, although we have to thank them for bringing us all together and building this great feminist movement. Yes. Thank you, trans activists. We love you, really. And don't forget, your mum's a TERF. So looking ahead, we weren't prepared for the gender religion, and we're even less prepared for the surrogacy revolution that's going to take place if the government's new proposals come to fruition. Once you have, as a trans supporting organisation, created a generation of messed up young people who have taken hormones, who have ruined their own fertility, we all know that when they hit their 30s, many of them will see their best mates having babies and think, actually, I never thought I did before, but now I would like a baby. And if you've messed up your fertility, you haven't got the capacity to do that. So you're very likely to reach for a surrogate. People reach for a surrogate for any reason. Too busy, can't be bothered getting pregnant, I've got an engagement on the day, all sorts of reasons. So you seek to exploit another woman's body to provide you with a child. Now, hands up anyone here who has brought up a child. Is it all fun and games? Is it easier or harder than raising a puppy?
I've never had a puppy.
Much harder is the consensus I'm getting. I raised two. They've now turned into human beings magically, round about the age of 25 in my experience. But those 25 years, especially as a single parent, were bloody difficult. So it's not that much fun being a parent. It's got its good set. And when you're looking at these adverts, the media portrayals of cute little baby feet and cute little gay couples like Tom Daley, who's so athletic, it's not that simple. There's a lot more to it than that. So once you've messed up your body by thinking you were a man when you were a woman or vice versa, you've taken hormones, you've mucked up your fertility, you think you'll go to surrogacy. And I was trying to think this morning of a comparison of what the government's proposals on surrogacy are like. They're a bit like as if someone was to do some research on petrol pollution and only consult BP and Shell and the oil companies. Obviously, you would get a very positive portrayal. And I thought that's a bit like the surrogacy consultation they did, because the only organisations that the Law Commission consulted were organisations representing gay men and transgender people. They had to be grabbed by the lapels and forced to consult women's organisations. And even then they complained because Nordic Model Now, who facilitated women's representations, put a template up and they kind of, oh, if it's from a template, then we don't take any notice. So we subjected our own research and we found that loads and loads of women's organisations thought the government consultation was rubbish, and they identified over 60 problems with surrogacy, which I won't bore you with now. But if you're interested, I'm going to be on Liberal Voices for Women tomorrow evening podcast, so you can learn more about it there. But back to the comparison. Oh, live, yes. As long as I'm spared. But if you want to think about that comparison, it's not like the comparison with the petrol industry, because the petrol pollution, whatever you think of it, it affects men and women roughly equally, because men and women live in conurbations in roughly equal numbers. However, the surrogacy industry only really badly affects women and children. If you're a man, by definition, you are going to be on the purchasing side of that equation, purchasing your accessory child for your delectation and delight. So no child ever can consent to being the child of surrogacy. A child is born wanting only one thing in its life, and that is its mother for sustenance, love, and comfort. No child, thank you, can consent to surrogacy, and the child is the most vulnerable person there. I won't go in now to all the economic, psychological, social, and other reasons why women should really resist this. But if you want to hear more, Monday evening is the day to put in your diary. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, babe. I think Katie's up.
Thanks, Jan. Katie, coming. Taking her jackets off. Yay, DJ Libby.
Right.
Let's do it the other way around.
Just
Yeah, that's on.
rearranging, just if you can see my wonderful t-shirt here.
Not only trans, all women should be called men.
Well, this is a hashtag that was started a little while ago. We're often told that trans women are women. That's become the mantra of the day. When actually they're men, but they're not just men. They're con men. Everybody on the planet knows what sex you are, mate, including you. And if you hate your dick so much, go and chop it off. Otherwise, you're not fooling anybody. Right, now I've just got that ramble out of the way. I wanted to say next week is the 23rd of April, and it will be the London Marathon here in our great city. I will be here in Speaker's Corner, giving you an opportunity to speak about the things that concern you about trans rights activism. Doesn't have to be about sport, but I know this is one of the major areas for young girls wanting to compete on an equal footing with men. I know a lot of athletes, female athletes in the UK have been at the forefront of a lot of the pushback, and we often, because we look at the encroachment all around us, we haven't actually seen some of the benefits that we've got. British Athletics has decided to keep the women's category for females only, which means in the London Marathon, the female category means adult human female. There's no men encroaching on that space yet. So, thank you for British Athletics, and we just got to keep up the hard work, keep meeting in places like this and coming together, saying the emperor is naked. Trans women are con men. We shouldn't be afraid to say these things. Even if you don't agree with the way that I say it, I have a right to believe what I believe, and I've got a right to say it. We live in a free country last time I checked, and we need to remind people and public bodies that these are our human rights. They're not negotiable. You can't just chuck them away because you decided that they're quite unfashionable and you don't like people making you feel awkward about the policies that you've enacted. I think that's what a lot of politicians want to silence us for, because we make them look like a bunch of idiots who don't know what a woman is. They make themselves look like a bunch of idiots. I think Graham Norton came up with a great phrase, and they said they'd be clowning themselves, and that's what I think. Graham Norton. Oh no, the other one. Glenna. They'll be clowning themselves. And every single time Keir Starmer, I'm just watching his face, he's so red, he's like, some of them, like, they don't care, don't try and trick us. Anyway, so yeah, if you want to come and have your say next Sunday, we'll be coming here, but we'll be a team of us by the end point at the marathon. We'll be handing out some leaflets and just gauging public opinion, because we often get the impression that we're in a minority, but actually when you get speaking to people, normal people, people that aren't on Twitter all the time, they're largely in agreement, especially something like sport. It's so obvious, it's so visual, it's so clear what's happening. So we're going to be down there. If you want to get involved, I'm Turfosaurus on Twitter. Drop me or Venice a message if you want to come and give out some leaflets and just talk to some real women. Don't be afraid, because in reality, when you get out there in the street, you find most people are on side. When they explain the issues and they understand it a bit better, they're like, no, you're right, actually, turfs are right. So yeah, next Sunday 23rd, drop me a DM at Turfosaurus on Twitter. 3 o'clock here, 12 o'clock Green Park for some flyering. So yeah, let us know.
Thanks, Katie. Give us a like. Marvellous. Adja. Round of applause for Adja. Oh, hello. Oh, I don't never know which way to go. Yeah.
Right.
So I was supposed to be in Belfast today, but unfortunately, health issues stopped me from going. However, I've been to enough of these events to know what the speeches will be like. There will be women talking about times they've been sexually assaulted and raped. There'll be disabled women talking about their need for female carers. There'll be mums talking about their teenage daughter's need for single-sex toilets. And there'll be lesbians talking about the homophobia they received due to this new ideology. While these women are speaking, there'll be men, angry, aggressive, terrorist men with banners and flags screaming at them, calling them TERFs, bigots, Nazis and fascists. These men will be telling women to go home, to get out of public life because they're not welcome, to shut up because their rights and their concerns are not important. These men do this because they think they are being progressive. They think they are on the right side of history. If only they knew their history, they would know that they are the new Hitler Youth, the new Red Army, and there's a new priest class. Men in dresses who are telling women who to hate. And it works because a bunch of the Aunt Lydia organizations have heard the call and are standing side by side with the bully boys terrorizing women. As Simone de Beauvoir said, the oppressor would not be as strong if he did not have accomplices among the oppressed. And here are their accomplices. Rape crisis, Northern Ireland. Menstruation matters. Northern Ireland Rural Women's Network. WRAD, I don't know what that stands for, but they say they want to empower women to be a visible force for change. Women's Platform, Alliance for Choice, Reclaim the Agenda, which is a women's collective that work around things like sexual violence and other things related to women. There's Grannies for Equality, the Socialist Feminist Movement, and last but not least, the Men's Advocacy Group. This is not a full list of people I could find, but this is the ones that I could find yesterday on Twitter. Where am I? Yeah, okay. Yeah, the last thing I want to say is just directed at these groups. You are disgusting, low-life cretins who have been trained like dogs to tear apart your own rights, and it will come back to bite you in the ass. And thankfully, women are forgiven and they will take you back. However, I am not forgiven, and I hope one day you meet the consequences that you have caused yourself. And yeah, that's it. So that's what I gotta say.
Thanks, Adja. I'm just going to move this back a bit so we can see the object sign. Who's next, Lynn? Going to pop your bag up there. This one here like that.
Right. After all that positive talks in Northern Ireland, I just want to say it's not so positive here as regards young lesbians. I'm from the Lesbian Rights Alliance. My name's Lynn, and we've been campaigning about lesbian rights since 2017, basically. There's two things still happening here. One is the teaching of gender identity ideology in schools, which is now in state schools particularly, but also in private schools, which is now mainstream. And children are being taught this from a very young age. So very young girls are saying they're trans and they want to socially transition at school. And many of them do. And still, those who socially transition at school, their parents are often not told, and they just change their names without their parents having any involvement or say in it. It's hopefully that this will be challenged, but it hasn't been challenged yet. And the second thing is for those of us who wanted to try and stop the mutilation of young lesbian bodies, which is basically female genital mutilation, as well as having mutilation of having their breasts sliced off and so on. Those of us who wanted to do that, we thought that would hopefully come to a stop, or a big stop, with the Cass review. Some of you may have heard of the Cass review, which was originally on our side, but the Cass review has now been policy captured by the male supremacist lobby, which is the trans lobby. They've been stopped. And to stop the mutilation of young lesbian bodies, which is going ahead in the most awful and terrible way. Right, I'll just stop there then.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, don't forget your bag. Who's speaking next? Come on, we're going to have one more. Come on, we got one more. Put your bag here. I'll put this in here.
Yeah, wherever.
Okay.
Thank you. This is very wobbly. So I want to say something about the right to not believe, based on a couple of conversations recently, which really emphasised to me how much of a religious idea gender identity is. In one conversation, I argued that the concept of sex cannot be socially constructed because it exists outside of human culture. The type of sex reproduction we have existed before humans did, in the other species we evolved out of. It is one aspect of our physical existence that we share with other mammals, along with things like breathing oxygen or sleeping. So I did not expect this to be a particularly controversial statement. But the person I was talking to described it as simply untrue. Offended, they felt the need to tell me humans are not animals, as though in pointing out that we breathe oxygen, I had somehow erased our humanity. They seem to see people as entirely separate from the natural world, to an extent which feels to me like a very particular American puritanical kind of thinking used to justify things from witch hunts across history to exploitation of the environment. In another conversation, someone told me that though they were raised a girl, the reason they know they are a man is because their soul is male. Another very particular religious belief. So perhaps that first person was offended because they thought I was ignoring the idea of a human soul. Freedom of religion is protected under the Equality Act, and it should be. The law should respect the right to believe in any concept of a soul, including souls which are specifically male or female. If I thought that right was at risk, I would be concerned. I would march to protect it, but that is not the situation we're in. As much as the law must respect the right to believe in the concept of a sexed soul, it must also recognise that not everyone does. We need laws, policies, and a national conversation which respects that while some people believe in different male and female souls, others believe there is no such thing as an immortal soul at all, and still others believe firmly in an idea of the soul which holds no concept of female or male, and is instead simply human. There is no objective test for these things. They are all purely a matter of faith. So we must be free to hold any of these beliefs, and we must be free to not hold any of them, and to change our minds or debate the specifics. No one should feel unable to ask questions or express doubts about any of these things. And yet that is where we are. For stating that we do not see souls, or for stating the incredibly everyday belief that being female or male has something to do with a person's body, we are attacked as hateful. But every time we are told to shut up, every time we are told it's true but you shouldn't say it, every time someone tells women to just stop talking, every time someone tries to reform the Gender Recognition Act, and every time someone throws tomato soup or a punch, all of that makes the need to speak ever clearer. And so we speak. Homo sapiens, like other mammals, is a sexually dimorphic species, and humans cannot change sex. And nothing that anyone says or does will ever change that truth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ooh.
Thank you. Well, I think that's everyone. We just came here today because we're coming here every week until the police sort it out. It looks like the police aren't going to be able to show us what they're going to do until the 30th, when Kelly J goes back to the Reformers tree. But Katie and all of us are going to be here next week, and hopefully it's going to be peaceful like this. And thanks to everyone. Thanks for all the women in Belfast. See you next week. don't know how to turn it off. Na, 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 na.